Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Birst webinar. I'm Emily Bold, DRI's Marketing Assistant. As you know, today we'll be presenting Birst, a business intelligence and analytics platform that enables organizations to leverage their data for smarter data-driven decisions. Birst has received numerous accolades, including being named to the Constellation shortlist, which names the top 6 solutions for cloud-based BI platforms. Personally, as a non-IT person, I am a fan of the intuitive and user-friendly interface. Birst makes it simple to pull reports, set up relevant dashboards, and measure KPIs in an easy-to-use interface that appeals to both IT staff and regular business users like myself. Now, without further ado, I am pleased to introduce our presenter. Dave Lindeman is a senior consultant here at Decision Resources. Dave has 25 years of experience working with ERP and supply chain management solutions and helping clients automate and transform their business operations. Dave, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Emily. And thank you all for attending this morning. We're going to start the session off today by going over our agenda for the call or for the webinar. And I'll kind of walk through the steps that we're going to go through for today's call. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about what is Birst, talk about some of the high-level attributes and benefits, and give you a general understanding of what Birst is all about. Then we'll jump right in and we'll do an overview of some of the Birst dashboards, kind of the endpoint or the results of a lot of the setup you'll do, so that we can then kind of back in and look at some of the steps for creating these dashboards, what's required to enable this visual display that you're going to see. Then we'll kind of peel back the layer and a little further, and we'll actually show you how to develop some Birst dashboard content. So you'll kind of be able to see how we can get our hands dirty and actually get in and create some content. And you'll see how easy that is, as Emily mentioned, for the users. Finally, we'll take a look at a glimpse at the Birst mobile capabilities and how you can have all this analytical data right in the palm of your hands with a phone or tablet. And finally, we'll wind things up with Jason talking a little bit about the packaging and pricing of Birst. And then, as Emily mentioned, we'll allow you to ask any questions that you may have. All right, so what is Birst? Birst is a next generation enterprise-wide BI and analytics platform, and that's key. It's a platform. It's not just a reporting tool. It's giving you tools to do ETL and data preparation. So it's giving you tools to extract data, to transform that data, to load it, and prepare it for use by your organization. And it's allowing you to do this from multiple data sources. It's not just a single data source it's pulling from. It can pull from multiple sources and pull those together. And we're going to talk about connecting, preparing, and relating that data. It'll give you the ability to do your typical operational reporting, but as you'll see, it's going to give you extreme benefit in the visual data discovery and interactive dashboards and advanced analytic capabilities of the system. So you're going to have a lot of, in addition to back-end tools to pull data for visualization and discovery, you're going to have those dashboard capabilities that you can develop very easily. And that's another key attribute of Birst, is the fact that it's a very easy to use visualization tool for all user levels. You'll see this in a minute, but it's a very intuitive and dynamic type tool that's going to allow users to define their own filtering and drill downs into that information that's most relevant for their role. And because of this, you'll experience rapid user adoption and a fast time to value in the system. So users will embrace this because of the ease of use, and in turn, you'll achieve value very quickly. This Birst is based on a modern cloud architecture. So you're going to have a single source of trusted data for your organization in the Birst cloud, and it's a secure source of data, but it's going to provide ease and consistency of accessing that data, so that you're all playing from the same playbook. It's not islands of automation. You're all deriving your information from that same data sitting in the Birst cloud. And by virtue of the fact it is a cloud-based system, your maintenance and upgrades are, one, very low or zero cost, and it makes it scalable across the enterprise. So as you want to add users or you want to add additional features, that's going to scale across the enterprise, and you're going to have continual upgrades in that cloud structure. And finally, Birst is Infor's chosen business intelligence tool. So it was founded and developed by BI industry veterans with over 400 plus combined years of experience. So it's very deep in its functionality. But Infor continues to invest significantly in this product and continues to integrate the Infor product lines, including SyteLine and CloudSuite, to take advantage of this visualization and reporting platform. All right, so like I said, we're going to dive right in and we're going to take a look at some of the basic features. And in this view you're seeing here is a snapshot of a dashboard. But we're going to jump right over to the system and jump into a dashboard. And I'm going to kind of go through the anatomy of this simple dashboard that I've created. So as we look at this, at the top of the screen, this is a sales and profitability analysis I'm looking at. So I've got what we call key performance indicators sitting at the top of the screen, and those are, each of these boxes in Birst is what Birst calls a dashlet. And so these are all dashlets, and we'll actually see how to create some of these in a bit. But you can see there's trending in each of these, so I can see by year, by quarter, what my cost of sales or total profit. Here I've got a more of a line chart showing my average margin percent and how I did in my quarters. As I move down further, we'll see I've got some charts or graphs, sales by product line, by product, by region, state, and rep, and we'll look at that in a second. You can see some more charts, and then at the bottom, I've got a detailed grid, and in this detailed grid, you'll see I've got some conditional formatting going on that if my value is below 35%, it's going to appear red with a down arrow. If it's 35 to 40, as you can see at the bottom in the average, it's going to appear in kind of an orange or goldish color. And if it's above 40, it's going to be green with an arrow next to it pointing upward. All right, so let's kind of look at some of the components here. If I look at this graph on the left, I've got some things I can do with, if I wanted to, for instance, look at this in a bar chart. I can choose, a different view selector and interactively change that to a bar chart. If I want to go back to my pie, I can do that. Or maybe in this column chart that I see in the middle, I want to expand that and work with that in more of a larger view to see more information. Okay, if I wanted to, let me go back and minimize that. If I wanted to start drilling into data, what I can do is I could say, okay, show me by product line what the details are, and this is now drilling into product level detail. And you see all the KPIs reconstitute themselves based on the fact I'm looking at a single product line now. If I want to go back, I can click on original, and that'll take me right back to where I started. Maybe I want to drill into my sales region. Let's go into the Eastern region. That's going to show me now by state what I did in terms of my sales. So there's New York, PA, and Connecticut. Well, maybe in New York, I want to see what did my reps do. So now I'm seeing my breakdown by rep. And again, you'll see all the charts and graphs below that have repainted themselves to that filtering that we've done up above. So you can see this is my Eastern sales, and it's for these individual reps. All right, if I hit my original, we go back. And any of this information, if I ever want to export that, I can simply click on the export button. I can send it out to, in this case, I could send the entire sheet out to Excel or out to a PDF format. Or if I wanted to send any one individual out to an Excel format, I could do that as well. All right, show you a couple other features within dashboards. Here's another dashboard. This is another sales analysis dashboard, but here I've got some key KPIs like we saw before, some charts. But in the upper right-hand side, you're seeing what we call a heat map. So depending on the threshold values that I hit, in this case it's region by sales team, these will be darker for the higher values and lighter for the lower values. Here I see another detailed grid. Now you can also have links to external applications. So if I click on this tubeless tire on the top row, it's going to go out to Google and pass that description to Google, and now I'm doing a Google search on anything with the tubeless tire. It could be drilling into a SyteLine or CloudSuite item form if you wanted to. If I go down further, I can have a cross-tab report. So there's a cross-tab report by sales, by region, and product line. All right. If I go a little further down, we'll see that I've got a geo heat map. And as I hover over the states, you'll see the darker states have higher sales, the lighter states are lower. And then at the bottom, you can also include dashlets that are websites or external components. So it doesn't have to be all specifically Birst content in your dashboard. All right, so it kind of gives you an idea of once you have a dashboard built, what some of the capabilities are within them. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our presentation and take a look at what steps are required to produce the information that we just saw, or to produce those visualizations that we just saw. So there's 5 key steps, and we're going to talk about these in a little bit of detail. But basically, they're connecting. In other words, connecting to a data source, preparing that data, relating potentially multiple data sources, and then the discovery and the presentation are where we're actually going to create those dashboards that we just saw. All right, so we're going to go talk about these steps, but these steps are what are going to allow us to produce that visualization as we see here. So first, we'll talk about connecting. Connecting is basically telling the system what type of data source do I want to use. Do I want to use a SQL database? Do I want to use a Dropbox or just a single file? Do I want to connect to my CloudSuite? Do I want to connect to Salesforce? I can mix and match, or I could connect to a single data source. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare that data. In other words, I don't necessarily need all that raw data, but I need pieces of it, and I may want to cleanse or transform that data for reporting purposes to make my reporting and analysis more efficient. And then finally, we can relate those data sources, so we can use multiple data sources from different places and take advantage of all the data offered in both of them. So here is the kind of the mechanics of setting up the back end of the Birst visualization. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect. And that's where we choose where we want to connect to. Do we want to connect to a SQL database, a Dropbox, an individual file? And when we do that, we're going to specify, in this case, this is an example of a Dropbox connection. I'm going to specify the file in the Dropbox. I've said Dropbox, I want to use this file, and that's going to create that connection to that Dropbox. Or I may want to do just a simple ad hoc type, drag and drop, where I'm going to take a I'm going to take a file from a folder, I'm going to drag it into the area up above, and either method I use is going to result in the importing of the raw data. So here we're going to get a kind of a preview of our raw data that was imported. So these are all my columns and data elements. Now, the next step after the import is to tell it what of those components do I actually want to use. I'm going to select the desired data elements I want to use. So in this case, I deselected certain columns that I might not need for my analysis. After we do that, we're going to start preparing that data view. So we've got a data view now, and we might want to exclude nulls. We might want to change numerics to decimals. And that's where we're going to start adding some transformation steps. So here, I'm going to give an example of adding a new column. And all these steps are kept track of here in the bottom. So I'll always see what types of transformations did I do. And if I want to back out of any of those, I can simply delete that step. So in this case, let's say I wanted to add a column that strips out the month from the date column, and it adds a new column called month. So Birst has functions, one of the functions being this date part function that takes, in this case, a month, out of the date field. I've specified which field or column I want to use, and we're going to strip that out. So when I click apply, we're going to see that a new month column was created from the date column. All right, so that's an example of preparing the data. The next step, if is optional, if you have multiple data sources or multiple tables, this is where we're going to relate the data. So if I had, for example, item information and item warehouse information, I may want to join that by item number so that I can take advantage of maybe some of my inventory information related to the items that I'm working with. All right, so the relate step is, again, it's optional, but if you have multiple data sources, that's where we're going to be able to kind of bring all that information together. All right, so the next, we've seen the connect, we've seen the prepare and the relate. The last two steps, the discover and present, are really where you start building that dashboard content we looked at. So we're going to create what we call visualizations or reports, and that's what kind of creates those dashlets we saw in the Birst dashboard. And then we're going to add those to a dashboard in some type of a presentation mode. All right, so let's go ahead and actually create some content. Okay, so I'm going back to my dashboard, and I'm going to go to one that I've actually got a little space over here I've left open intentionally. And you can see this is just like the other dashboard we looked at. It's got some content down below. But in this case, let's say we wanted to add a new KPI. So I've got total sales, cost of sales. Maybe I want to add a KPI for, let's just add one for average sales amount. Okay, so I'm going to start editing this dashboard. I'm going to click on edit. And now it opens up some additional capabilities up above. So I'm going to insert, in this case, I could insert a report, text, an embedded filter. I'm going to go with a KPI. All right, now I know in my case, I want average sales amount. So I'm going to choose one of my measures, and the measures come from that data that we've imported. And I'm going to choose extended price because that's my price on my orders. Now I don't want to sum that, I want to average it. So I'm going to choose average. And then I'm going to do some formatting. So I don't want the decimals. And maybe I want that to display in currency. All right. So I've got some of this information set up. Maybe I want that to appear, in a different color or a different pattern. So I can go back and say, okay, in my style settings, I want that to be blue. Okay. Now we'll go on to the title. So I want that title to read average sales amount. Type that in, and I can do some style settings there. Maybe we want to make that black. All right, now we'll create an indicator to kind of indicate, is it good or bad? In other words, is it above or below a certain value? And again, I'm going to choose extended price, and because we're using average, I'm going to choose average again, and I'm going to establish what we call some conditional formatting. So I can have as many breaks. In this case, I'm just going to do 2, but I could do a second or a third break. But let me just show you an example here. If this were 1,000, okay, it's saying everything above 1,000, I want that indicator to be green. Everything below it, I want it to be red. So you notice that changed to red because it's 870. What if I change it to 700? Okay, now it goes green. And maybe I want that to be an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing down for anything under 700. All right, so now I've established that criteria. And then finally, maybe I want to add some trending to this. So I'm going to say I'm going to just do a simple column chart, and I want that to be based on, again, no, actually in this case, let's do it based on time. So if I choose time, and I go down to the bottom, you're going to see that I've got a year and quarter. So I want to break up a year and quarter. Now I've got my chart, and again, I could change colors and do a lot of other things there as well. Okay, so we've got our KPI. I'm going to click Save, and now I can place this where I want on the dashboard. So I'm moving it around. I'm going to put it up at the top. Maybe want to stretch it off to the edge. Okay, so I've got that KPI up there, and we'll reformat that in a little bit. Now I want to add a report or chart. So I'm going to click on New Report, and let's add one that's a sales by product line. So I'm going to go up to my visualization wand at the top, and I'm going to create a column style chart. So now we need to add our measure. So our measure in this case, again, is going to be our extended price. And I need to add an attribute to the category. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, and we're going to choose product line, and that's part of my sales margin data. I'm going to drag that up and just drop it in category. All right, now there's some other things we can do here. Maybe I want to stratify this by, kind of sub-break these by customer. So let's just say I'm going to take customer name and throw that in my color stratification. So that's showing me by customer within that total sales. What was the sales amount? Let's go change the sorting to be. Let's go by extended price, and we'll make it from high to low. So I'm going to choose extended price. I'm going to drop that in my sort bucket, and now you're seeing it's low to high, but I'm going to change it descending, and we're going to go high to low. All right, so we've kind of got our chart, but I want to maybe bold and change some features on this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go up to the top to my chart settings. I want to display the value of this bar at the top of it. So I'm going to just click on display values. So you'll see now I've got all my display values listed. Now I'm going to build one of the drill downs that we just saw a minute ago. I'm going to go into report level drilling, and I'm going to add a drill path. And let's say I wanted to add a drill path that was, what started with product line. So we'll go product line and item. So I'm going to give it a name. And we'll save that. And now I'm going to tell it how I want to drill. So I want to drill by product line. So it's going to start searching. And you can see there's my sales margin data product line field. And then I want to drill to the item. There's my sales margin data item. I'm going to click done. Okay, and now I'm going to be able to test it if I want at this point. So I could say, okay, let's see. Okay, so there's my product, individual products within the product line. So I can kind of do a what if or a simulation prior to actually finishing this. But before we save it, I'm going to go in and we're going to just add a couple formatting features. So let's go in and let's just change the template or the pattern on this. So there's predefined templates, and you can customize those. Maybe I want my axis values to be a little bolder. So I'm going to bold down. So that's these fields down here. And we want the axis color to be a little darker, so we'll make that gray. I'll do the same on the y-axis. We'll make those bold. We'll go down, we'll actually add the grid lines in so we can see those grid lines going across, and then we'll make the axis a little darker. All right, I may want to move my legend, which is sitting at the bottom right now. Maybe I want to move that to the top. So we've got that. My display values are a little light. I'm going to bold those. So I'm going to go to my display values. I want to make them currency, and we'll make those bold. All right, maybe we want to even make them a little larger, so we'll do that. So now you can see they kind of stand out a little better. All right, so at this point, we'll say we've done the formatting we want to do. I want to save and insert this into my dashboard. Now, because this is a new report, I could have selected an existing report, but because this is a new one, we're going to give it a name. We'll just call this sales by product line. And item. All right. Save that. Now what's going to happen is it's going to insert that into my dashboard. So we see that sitting out here in our dashboard, and I can position that where I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it over in my empty spot, and we'll stretch it down. All right, and now just to make these two new components or dashlets that we've added to our dashboard, consistent with the rest of the information that we're looking at, we're going to go up and I'm just going to hit the two new components. I'm going to hit Control to highlight both of them, and I'm going to give them a background color of yellow. We'll make the outline blue, we'll make it a large, and we'll make it a medium shadowing so it looks like the rest of the components. So at this point, we've got our components added, and I'm going to click on Publish. What this is going to do is I can keep dashboards private, or they can be published to the user base, but depending on how I'm set up, that could be deployed now to the users that have access or share that dashboard with me. Now, just to show you that it's fully functional, again, I can drag across the trending. There we see our year and quarter information. If I drill into one of the values in my chart here, I should go from product line to product because of that drill back we built. And we can see that it's interactive with all the other pieces of the dashboard as well. So I just drilled into that product line. You can see it's only showing me data for that product line. If I go back to my filter bar and click Original, you'll see that it takes me back to all the data. And again, the table is going to repopulate itself based on that with all my conditional formatting and other information related to that. All right, so that kind of shows you how simple it is for a general user to manipulate a dashboard or create a dashboard, add information. Now, I'm going to jump back to our presentation. And we're going to jump to Birst Mobile. Now, Birst Mobile is going to give you the capability of taking all that Birst dashboard content that we just saw and move it to the palm of your hand via a cell phone, a tablet, basically any device that can access the internet. So I'm going to give you an example. I did this on my phone and recorded the session. But here's an example. So it's reconstituted or it's dynamically resized the dashlets to fit on my phone. And as you can see, I'm scrolling through. There's all our charts that we saw before. And again, because it dynamically resizes to the device you're on, it's going to make it most efficient for whatever, if it's a tablet or a phone. Now, as we go down to the bottom, you'll see that there's my table. Now, if I had flipped my phone, you'd see that go landscape. In this case, I didn't. I think I scroll up and down. And then I'll show you an example here of how you could drill into information on your phone. So it's not just static information. So I'm going to tap on the East, in this case, in the sales by region. And there's our drill down. So now it's showing me by state. If I click on New York, it's going to drill down into my reps. And again, all the charts are repopulating based on that. And now I just tapped on the filters at the bottom to see what filters have been applied. So I can always see what filters have been applied by that little indicator at the bottom. And now you'll see as I move up, all the graphs are based on the East and New York. All right, so that's an example of what you can do with Birst Mobile. All right, so hopefully that gives you kind of a flyby of the Birst product and how it can benefit you from the standpoint of extracting data and transforming it into these visualizations that can really give you that kind of in-your-face display of key performance or key information in your organization.